This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. That's my closet full of all the stuff that I love. And today, a very old Boris Karloff and a very young Jack Nicholson in a film that supposedly had 6 different directors, plus a film that is probably the very first horror comedy, and which is a personal favorite of mine. That's right, it's a 2 for Tuesday on the Kazdoy Closet. Let's check it out. Today's first film is The Terror from 1963. It's a brisk 80 minutes long, in color. This one's about a lost French army officer who was saved from drowning by this mysterious young woman. He then goes to try to find her by going to this spooky castle. The legendary Roger Corman directed this one. He gave the start to so many people who became great directors in their own right. And actually, he let 6 of his proteges direct different parts of this film, which is one reason why it's probably kind of convoluted and, as one person and one of the extras said, Byzantine. Some of the people that had a hand in directing this include Francis Ford Coppola, Monty Hellman, and Jack Hill, who of course went on to their own careers as directors. Think of this as sort of a Edgar Allan Poe-esque or Edgar Allan Poe adjacent type of story. Now, before this one, Corman had already directed 5 very successful films based on Edgar Allan Poe stories, and there are similar themes here of sexual obsession after death, revenge, resurrection, dead lovers. It's a good-looking film. The picture quality on this disc varies, I would say, but there's some rich, heavily saturated colors in here. Almost looked like a Mario Bava film in some parts, I thought. It's atmospheric, it's got a gothic flavor to it. And if you've seen the film Targets, directed by Peter Bogdanovich, which is a much better film, part of it takes place at a drive-in theater. This is the film that's playing on the screen in the drive-in theater, The Terror. Boris Karloff stars as the Baron in charge of the castle here. He's moving a little bit slow. This is late in his career. He had a lot of health problems. But Jack Nicholson is really the main star. He plays the French army officer, and he was in several Corman films even before this one. He was only 26 years old when he did this film, and his wife at the time, Sandra Knight, plays the mysterious woman that he falls in love with. And there's also some Corman regulars like Dick Miller and Jonathan Hayes. We'll talk about them a little bit later. My rating for The Terror, I'm going to give this one 2.5 castles, a generous 2.5 castles out of 5. It's fun to watch. It's always good to see Karloff and of course Nicholson in a very early role. And it's a good looking film if you just don't get too hung up on the convolutions of the plot, actually. So what's on this disc? This is a Film Masters disc. I've spoken about them before. I'm collecting all their discs. I'm pretty much up to date so far. And there are 2 discs here, one for each film. I'll get to the other film in a minute. There is a nice booklet. It's about 24 pages long. It's good information in it. There's an audio commentary, which I did not listen to. And there's an excellent video essay, rather. It's about 45 minutes long, and they include subtitles, which is always appreciated. A lot of good information about the film and about Corman and his career. So where can you see The Terror? Well, the good news is you can see it for free on YouTube. My hunch is it's a public domain film at this point. It's on Amazon Prime, it's on Freevee, it's on Crackle. You can buy it or you can rent it. I saw this on TV when I was a kid. I remember thinking, I don't know what's going on in this film. All I remember is the ocean waves crashing against the shore, which they show every so often. So I expected it to be a lot worse than it was, actually. But again, it's just okay. Our second film today is The Little Shop of Horrors from 1960, an even brisker 73 minutes long, in beautiful black and white. This is about this poor loser named Seymour who works in a flower shop on Skid Row in Los Angeles, and he's about to get fired because he messes up so frequently. But then he creates a new plant that has a rather unusual appetite. Now, up front, let me just say, it's difficult for me to be objective about this film because I just love it so much. I grew up with this film. It seemed to always be on TV, one of those films that was always on. And whenever it was on, my siblings and I would watch it. It's like, there's that film again. For a long time, I didn't even know what the name of the film was. All I knew was there's that weird film again. And as a kid, it's kind of scary and funny and dumb. And I'm thinking, how can a film be all these things? Am I supposed to be scared of this, or just is it a joke? What is it? So I never saw a mix of comedy and horror like that. And watching it now again as an adult, well, I can realize a few things. One is I was too young back then to get all the jokes, especially some of the throwaway lines and some of the malaprops from one of the characters. And I also realized this time around, everybody in this film is funny. Everybody has funny lines. They're all giving funny performances. Even the characters' names are funny. I also realized all the humor is based on death and sickness. And I know that doesn't sound funny, but it's a dark humor. And I think along with things like Mad Magazine, this instilled in me a love of dark, sick humor. And I even had a book back then that I used to go through all the time, a paperback book called The Best Sick Jokes. And they even had these shut up jokes in there. Those were like, Dad, can I go out and play? Shut up and deal. Or, Mom, I hate my brother's guts. Shut up and eat what's put in front of you. There are all these jokes we used to tell each other all the time. And another thing about this film is the Jack Nicholson segment, which is about 5 minutes long. He plays a dental patient. And if you're going to watch anything at all from this film, I would suggest you go on YouTube and look up the Jack Nicholson dentist clip. It's about 5 minutes long. And it's very funny. He's very funny and very young in this one too. This one also was directed by Roger Corman. He did 2 other horror comedies, Bucket of Blood and Creature from the Haunted Sea. I have all those also. I still think this is my favorite one though. And I even love some of the stories about this film. For example, the story is it was shot in 3 days. Other people say no, they went back and did reshoots for 19 days. The story is it was made for $28,000, which is extremely low budget. That could be true. One story says that it was partially ad-libbed. Other people say no, everything was in the script. The exterior shots was Seymour walking down the streets of LA. He's really in Skid Row, and those are really people living on Skid Row. They gave a couple of bucks to all the kind of the winos laying there on the ground in Skid Row to be in the film. And there's even some family members in the film. One guy's wife is in here, another guy's father's in here. So all of that just adds to my love of Little Shop of Horrors. Of course, the Little Shop of Horrors became a musical, which is still performed today in high schools and colleges. And then it became a musical film in 1986. The cast includes Jonathan Hayes as Seymour. He was also in The Terror. Dick Miller, who was in The Terror as well, and in probably every Roger Corman film and other people's films. He's one of the best character actors around. Always love to see him. They even did a documentary about him called That Guy, Dick Miller, because it's always like, who is that guy? He's in every film. Mel Wells plays the owner of the flower shop. He directed Lady Frankenstein, which I did an episode on, which I really liked, and it's part of the Danse Macabre set. And Jackie Joseph plays Audrey, the love interest, and she used to be on TV all the time and all kinds of movies. She always played kind of the sweet, ditzy young woman, and she's in here. She's very good. And of course, Jack Nicholson has that small part too. So my rating for the Little Shop of Horrors is, believe it or not, 5 plants out of 5. That's a totally subjective thing, as you can hopefully tell from the way I talk about it. So what's on the disc with that one? There's an audio commentary, which I listened to about 10 minutes. That was about it. And there's also part 2 of something called the Film Group Story, which is different parts around different film masters' discs. And it's a story of Roger Corman's production company. That's about 20 minutes long. That's very good also. Where can you see Little Shop of Horrors? Basically the same idea as The Terror. I'm going to think it's public domain. It's on YouTube for free, Amazon Prime, Freevee, Crackle, the same places. So feel free to leave a comment or suggestion down below. Have you seen either of these films? Do you have a favorite Roger Corman film? He's done a lot of really good ones. I would like to thank the following people who left comments on various episodes since our last episode. They include Demon Horse, Joan, Tina, Sidekick Dusty, The Movie Addict, Sean, Walt B. Bad, Mark, and Queen's Native. Thank you for taking the time to comment. Really appreciate it. Leave a thumbs up. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. Share this with your friends and neighbors. We are very close to our next goal of 900 subscribers, and I'd like to thank the following people who've subscribed since our last episode. They include Todd, ABSH38412, Good Titan, El Sastre Oficial, and Demotos, Lord of Intoxication. I think I know that guy. Thank you so much for subscribing. Subscribing is free. Also free is we're on the Letterboxd app under the Kazdoy Closet. There's a link to that down in the show notes below. That's where we leave brief written reviews of other things we're watching that we don't talk about here. Most recently, we watched Poltergeist, The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster, Suitable Flesh, The Zone of Interest, and The Teacher's Lounge. And if you can find The Teacher's Lounge, I gave that one 5 stars. Very good. So thanks so much for checking this out. Hope you liked it. See you next time.